They told me this wasn't for girls. So I got on that bike. They told me to find something else to do. So I made it my profession. After the accident, they told me I'd never ride again. But I got up, I rode, I won. They told me I'd never make it to the start line of Dakar. I wonder what they'll tell me next.
Ryobi, proud sponsors of people and power tools that won't quit. Available at all major retailers.
Whew. All I can say, I can take a deep breath, but I don't know what to say, Byron. But good evening, everybody. Well, I'm your host, Abdul Sayed, Byron, your co-host for tonight's 28th episode, if I remember correctly, of Witzenberg Motor Talk or Motor Praatjies met Witzenberg. That's the Afrikaans version. And tonight's guest, trust me, I've never met Kirsten, but I've met her. Because after that intro video, I don't know what to ask you anymore, Kirsten. So welcome to the listeners. Byron, just say hello to the sponsors if I quickly before we go any further, before I forget, as usual.
Yes, hello everyone. 435 Oils, a big thank you. This year they've stuck by us and kept us going on the air, and I would like to have a big thank you from us to them, and of course to Bevan Harris as well, that gives us all the prep and gives us everything and puts it together. Keeps us going and keeps us doing what we're doing.
Yeah, thank you, Byron. And you know what? I don't know what I'm going to say to introduce you to tonight's guest, but don't ask her any questions because whatever challenge you put out there for her, she's going to do it. So, Kirsten Landman, welcome to our show tonight. It's such an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to have you on. And let me just tell the viewers how I actually got a hold of you. I've never met Kirsten. I don't know Kirsten. I just knew that she was the first African lady to compete in the 2020 Dakar. I think that was the first one in Saudi Arabia. And I didn't have to read any further. That caught my attention. What caught my attention was she was on a bike. And I thought to myself, if you were a man, you would have known what we would have said, Byron, but I don't know. But I am in awe of you and your achievements. So good evening, Kirsten Landman, to our show tonight. Good evening. How are you this evening?
Evening.
Hi, Byron, Abdul. Thank you guys so much for having me and reaching out. It's always cool to be able to expand my experience and talk about my crazy experiences with people all over the country and from different motorsport backgrounds. So thank you very much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. And just before we get into the program, I just want to keep you guys updated with some news on motorsport. So as you can see, I have this YQ Holdings sweater on. So on Friday, the 24th. I think it's Heritage Day.
Yes, 24th is Heritage Day.
Yes. So we have an event called the RC Drifting. So it's radio controlled cars, but they're going to do drifting. There's a competition happening at the YQ Holdings head office in Brackenfell Industrie in Cape Town. It's number 56 Viben Street, if I'm not mistaken. Well, just check it out on Facebook and Instagram and all the social media platforms. And seeing that the numbers are increasing, I can't say spectator numbers, but you're allowed to bring more people to a venue now. With COVID, the levels have dropped. So obviously there's going to be a lot of interest, and anybody that wants to come along, it's going to cost you 10 Rand to come and have a look. It's a whole day event. It's going to be drifting, all-wheel drive drifting with radio-controlled cars and rear-wheel drive drifting as well. And it's a huge thing. I mean, I've seen these guys do it before. It's unbelievable what they do with these radio-controlled cars. And so there's going to be food available. So whoever wants to come, just check out the Facebook page and check it on Instagram. Just go to YQ Holdings. And then on the 9th of October, it's a Saturday, at 12 o'clock, it's the next Gymkhana at Killarney. And you guys know about our bursary initiative with YQ for Hope and Northlink College and Witzenberg Motor Club. So basically what we do is we give a percentage of our entry fee towards a bursary fund that funds underprivileged youth in an educational field to do with cars or motorsport. So Kirsten's the first time you hear about that as well. So that's an initiative that we started actually not so long ago. Yeah, so that's all happening. So, okay, the program tonight's about Kirsten Landman. I know very little about motorbikes, except they have two wheels and they go damn fast. So, Kirsten, tell us about your story. Where you started, where did you get this crazy idea from? I mean, I saw the video. So somebody told you couldn't do it. I assume it was your parents or somebody told you that. So how did it actually start for you? Start us from the beginning.
Okay, so I'll take you back 22 years ago to when I was a little 8-year-old girl. So I grew up, I think any girl in this sport is generally a tomboy or got a little bit of a wild side to them. So I grew up as quite a little tomboy, close with my cousin who was years younger than me. And he got his first bike. We lived next door to each other in the same complex. And he got his first bike at the age of 4, a little a little KTM SX50. And when I saw his motorbike, I fell in love. I just wanted to have my own one, and I think I nagged my dad for 3 years. I think he just resisted it or just avoided it from the fact that he didn't want his little girl to get onto a motorbike. And I begged him to a point that he said to me, "Listen, at the time I was a really good swimmer, so I started playing sports from a really young age." And he said to me, "If you make the Gauteng provincial squad," I was living back in Gauteng as I grew up in Gauteng, and he said to me, "To make the squad, I will buy you a motorbike." And he used to say, I love a little bit of motivation and a challenge. So I got my first bike at the age of 8, a little Kiwi TV80, pink and white, little Yamaha. And ever since then, it was for me, that's when life began, you know. I don't remember anything before that really, and that was the start of the rest of my life. And what started off as just fun with my cousins, hopping around in the complex, literally riding in shorts and a t-shirt, no helmet. Don't do that at home. Anyone has kids and children at home, it's not the right way to do it. But I don't think my father thought I was really going to get into it, you know. So and that stuff's quite expensive. So he wanted to see where it would go and not just be a farm bike. And it went from that into really nagging my dad to take me to the track and do more events, and then eventually started to give me more kits. And my cousin was quite competitive, so with him doing it, it kind of urged me along as well. And my uncle also rode, so he was into it as well. And then I eventually got some more kits, and then I went from that little PV80 to a little RM85, and then I started racing. We entered the little hare scrambles out there in Daytona, in the north of Joburg, and I started to do well. I was racing against a group of four boys. We're at the age of about 12, 13 now. And I started to do well. I think my father realized that I could, I don't think he ever saw it going this far, but he thought, let's see where it goes. And he enjoyed it as much as I did. You know, I spent the time on the bike, but he enjoyed helping, prepping the bike and going to the events, taking me training. And then throughout school, my parents pushed me to obviously finish school, do well in school marks, because, again, they probably never thought that I could make a career out of racing. So, you know, as most parents do, they push their kids in school because you finish school, you go to university, and then you get a job. So that's what my parents wanted for me. So I finished school. Also, I was very concentrated hard on my sport as well. I played provincial hockey and all that stuff going through school as well. So it was a juggle between everything. And then I managed to negotiate with my parents a gap year after I finished matric. They said in a gap year, as long as I worked to finance my riding, then I could ride. But thereafter my gap year, I had to go study. So that first year out of school, from 18 to 19, I did whatever I can to fund my own riding. So my parents didn't pay for my riding anymore. So I was au pairing, I was doing promotions, I was coaching swimming, hockey, doing everything to fund my own racing. And that gap year flew by, and obviously, unfortunately, no sponsors came on. Obviously, that was the push to try to see if I could get any sponsors through my racing. And then the next year I started studying because my parents would pay for my tertiary education, but again, they wouldn't pay for my racing, which is I'm glad they didn't, because it made me work hard, you know, and it made me appreciate getting sponsors so much more. So I carried on with my training, and what I did with my studies is I actually went and, because I couldn't afford someone to train me in terms of fitness, because with the nature of the sport, you have to be super fit, you have to know a lot about nutrition, and instead of me being able to afford someone to train me, I thought, let me do my personal training diploma, which my parents had paid for, so that I could train myself. So I learned through studying, I was able to learn more about training myself, nutrition, and everything I needed to know for racing, which really did help. So I got my diploma thereafter. And while doing all of this, I was still working, coaching, training, doing whatever I can, doing some money, and obviously now trying to race and ride as best as I could to get a sponsor. And then in 2011, I picked up my first sponsor with Bidvest Yamaha, and I got given bikes, and it was like hit the jackpot. Sorry.
Amazing,
and I started racing South African national enduros, and I must say it was very hard. I was going from like a junior level to now racing against seniors, and also I was one of the only girls doing this and now competing in the national classes. I mean, these guys that were winning these races were some of the guys that were best in the world and competing on international level. So just to finish the race was really hard. I mean, we were doing, for those viewers that don't know what enduro is, I'll explain it to you. So you do between
Kirsten,
the lap loops.
So just let us just stop at that point quickly with the enduros, because that's going to be a story on its own. I know that. So this is quite interesting. Byron, I see there's a comment from Steffi
Vetter. I think it's Stephanie Vetter. Sorry, there. I'll just bring it up on screen here. And Stephanie Vetter says, hi from Southern Africa Dakar group. Super proud of Kirsty. Stepping up again and inspiring women to break the glass ceiling. Fantastic that at ASP International Rope Access have come aboard. Tell us more about this dynamic company backing the only lady entered into the Dakar 2022 rally from Southern Africa, the first woman from Africa to tackle the Malay Moto. And that's going to be a big topic for me, the Malay Moto, because if the Dakar already is one of the craziest races on earth, but now you take the Malay Moto, takes that another step up from outright craziness, if you ask me.
Absolutely. Let's not talk about the Malay Moto now. That's another story. We're going to talk towards the end of the show about that. So in 2012, 2011, you got your first sponsor, and you were riding against these men, and you know, coming from a racing background, myself and Byron, we understand. We are men actually also. So men have big egos. So you have this girl on a bike, and she's kicking the ass. And how's their reactions to all this? So tell us a little bit about that. That's been quite interesting.
I wasn't kicking butt just yet. I was still finding racing speed. You know, yes, I was racing against the guys, and I was entered into the E1 class. So I mean, I was racing against the best in the country. So for me, this whole journey has been a huge learning curve. You know, going onto a national level, racing nationals, as opposed to where I was coming from, racing clubs, was a huge step up, and I had to change my everything. Where I was at, I mean, it's like, if you categorize it, it's like being a bronze rider going to a gold rider. The course gets much harder, the laps are much longer. It was so hard, but needless to say, it took me 2 years until I actually got flagged to finish my first race, because the laps that we were doing, so I'll go back to explaining what enduro was. We're doing 40 to 60 kilometer laps out on all natural terrain. It's either marked off or you run it off a GPS. They mark it with little day glow stickers. Like for instance, 2 markers on the left will be you're going to turn left, 2 markers on the right, you're going to turn right. And to follow the line, they have them spaced out every 100 meters, a single little line in the direction that you're going.
So this is while you're riding on a motorbike with a helmet in speeds excess of 120, 30, 40, 50, 60, 200 km per hour. You're going to see all these.
That's Dakar. Dakar's the high speed. Enduro is not as high speed. It's a lot slower. You'll get faster sections. Like we'll go through sections where you'll have a straight where you can get up to speeds of over 100 kilometers an hour riding on rocks, obstacles. But the enduros, because it tends to be more technical, so there's a lot more rocks and riverbeds, and it's uphill and downhill. So it tends to be a lot slower. I mean, for instance, I'll explain to you, I'm sure maybe some of the viewers know of the Roof of Africa. It's our hard enduro event here that we have in Lesotho. For instance, I'll just explain to you my last Roof of Africa. So I've actually done 8 Roof of Africas over my career. 1 bronze, 3 silver, and 5 gold. So I've done
my
quite
word.
a lot of Africas. Yeah, this year will be my
I'm
ninth, and
I'm
our
honored
last
to
one
be
that
here.
we had. Thank you. And our last Roof of Africa was 2019. Obviously, we didn't have one in 2020 with COVID. Just to explain to the viewers, I mean, we did our first day was the Friday. So you have your time trial on the Thursday, which gets your starting point for the Friday, and then you've got 2 long days, Friday and Saturday. So it's a 3-day event. And our Friday, we did 188 kilometers in 1 day, and I was on the bike for 11 and a half hours. So do the math.
Oh my
That
word.
means I was averaging between 15 and 16, 17 Ks an hour, probably slower. So they sometimes say mountain bike races are faster than our races. That's how technical it gets. The images that are scrolling across the screen now come from my hard enduro races. This one now is from Sea to Sky in Turkey as well. It's a 70-kilometer race that takes me 7 hours. So I'm averaging 10 kilometers an hour. It's very extreme, very technical. Some of the stuff that we get off, we often joke around and we say we're taking our bike for a hike or for a walk, because we actually land up getting off the bike to walk down the obstacles because they're so technical. I mean, you drop off steps and gullies and you go up step-ups as high as your height. It's very physical, but extremely fun. And I think that's what draws it to me. It's physical, it's emotional, it's challenging on all aspects, from testing you emotionally, physically, testing your skill with how you handle your bike, and as well how you look after your bike. And so yeah, from there, racing, I'll go back to my career as where we're going. I started racing the Enduros, then I started finishing the Enduros, and my contract came to an end in 2012 with Yamaha, and I was at a point like, I can't afford to pay for my own racing. My contract's over. What am I going to do now? And a friend of mine, a mentor, Gary Frank, I don't know if you know him, he used to run the Enduro World magazine. He knew Daryl Curtis quite well. Daryl Curtis is like a legend in our sport. He's done Dakars and he's done one Roof of Africa's. And he was next door. He had a factory next door to KTM South Africa. And Gary took me to meet Daryl to get advice of what I should do, whether I should try and find the money to be a privateer, or I should try to see if KTM South Africa would take me on as a factory rider. We went over next door, met Francisca from KTM. She's the MD of KTM South Africa. And meeting went really well. The next day I went and signed my contract with KTM South Africa. And
amazing.
Here I sit now. I've been racing for the team for 9 years. I've done 8 Roof of Africas. I've raced 5 Sea to Skies in Turkey. I've raced in Namibia. I've raced in Poland. I've raced in Saudi Arabia. I've raced in Germany. I've raced all over the world, and just from growing up as a young girl with what started off as passion and the love for a sport has now been able to turn into a career where I have met the most incredible people, traveled all over the world. Listen, I've had my lows with the highs, but it's all been worth it. And when I was that little girl, I never ever thought that I would be finishing the Roof of Africa, let alone going to race the Dakar Rally. And here I sit now, 1 Dakar down and about to go do my 2nd Dakar Rally.
Amazing.
It's been an incredible journey. But yeah, no
You know
regrets.
It's such an inspiration just to listen to you. I mean, and you don't have to be you don't even have to be on a motorcycle. I mean, you can be a normal person that plays a normal sport, but the inspiration that you are able to give, well, just me, and I'm sure for Biden as well, and to all the viewers out there and all the people that are still going to listen to this program in the future, it's unbelievable. So I saw on the previous clip there, you had a bad fall sometime. Well, a one or a couple, but I assume the first one was bad, and they told you you're never going to ride again. So
yeah, so
if you want to talk about it, maybe it'll give us some inspiration as well.
Yeah, for sure, no problem. That accident is a very big part of my journey and the reason why I am where I am today. So, 2013, my first year on with KTM, we were contracted into racing off-roads and enduros. And I came from more an enduro background, so I preferred the more technical, lower speeds. And now we were racing off-road. And it was actually I'm sure you guys know, the Toyota Desert 1000 in Botswana.
Yeah.
So it was at that race. We had raced the first day. So for the viewers, you raced 500 kilometers each day of 2 days. And on the second day of racing, it was about 9:30 in the morning. I had been riding behind a rider for quite a while, itching to get past him. You know, as racing goes, keep left, pass right. And the rider was in the left-hand lane, and I was coming in hot on the right-hand lane to hopefully make the pass through a little S-bend in front of us. And that rider next minute hopped into my lane, and because I was coming faster than him, I crashed and just my front wheel overtook their back wheel, and I grabbed front brakes. And I was in a rut, and my front wheel washed to the right, and there was a tree stump about waist high right next to me. I mean, if I had fallen 20 centimeters before or 20 centimeters after, I literally would have dusted myself up and carried on. But the tree stump impacted my abdomen, and what had happened is from the impact, I had severed my pancreas off my small intestine. And at the time, obviously, there was no physical, like it didn't look like anything was wrong with me, but I was in a hell of a lot of pain. I was very winded when it happened. And I lay there for a while, couldn't get up. Eventually, I had to get transported out in a rescue vehicle. They took me back to the pit. There were quite a few accidents that day because it was quite dangerous. It was fast, as high-speed racing, the nature of high-speed racing goes. And because I appeared physically okay and I could still walk, where I was in a lot of pain, I wasn't like on the red list. You know, they give you green, amber, red. So I seemed okay because I could talk and I could walk, but I was complaining about being in a lot of pain. Got to the hospital in Gaborone, and they ran scans, and they didn't pick up anything on me. It's amazing. I don't know how they didn't pick up anything on me. But I eventually got helivacked out of Botswana because Francisco she had personal contact with a doctor in Pretoria, and he knew from my blood test results that knew exactly what I had done. So I got rushed back to Unitas in Pretoria, and I was operated on. I was put into an induced coma because from severing my pancreas with my small intestine, your small intestine carries it's your waste product out your body. And now because that had split open, it now had gone over all my organs, and all my organs had gone septic. So I had to be put into a coma, because they had to keep opening me up, flushing me out, and closing me, and I couldn't be awake. So I was put into induced coma. I was put onto life support, and I woke up 11 days later. For me, it felt like I had woken up the next day. A lot of confusion, and I'd lost a lot of weight. But yeah, it was a rocky road for my family when I was out for those 11 days. But for me, it was like the next day I woke up, and the first thing I said is, my bike okay? I can't wait to get back on the bike. And this was July of 2013. And I was like, I've got to get out of here so that I can get back and go race Roof of Africa, which was later that year in November. Needless to say, there was no way in hell I was going to be able to go race the Roof of Africa, because it took me quite a long time to recover. I'd lost, I think, I'd lost 12 kgs. I went from 62 down to 50 kgs. And I mean, I came out like a bag of bones. I had to regain all my strength again. I had been lying in bed for so long, I kind of had to learn to walk again. I had no physical impairments, but just rebuilding my strength. And obviously I had been cut from my waist, from above my ribs all the way down to my lower abdomen. So, severing through your core like that, it takes a lot of strength to build back. And again, my confidence on the motorbike, I think I only got back onto a bike 3 or 4 months later. Also, just 6 weeks post-op, after I'd been released from hospital, I had complications from the severity of my small intestine taking such a lock. I developed loops around my small intestine, and then I had what happened is a blockage had formed, and my small intestine reburst. So I was back in hospital for another 2 weeks. So yeah, it was just a complete roller coaster. But at the time, I was really upset, really frustrated. I had faced a lot of demons in that time. my own personal demons as to why is this happening to me? I'm so young. What did I do to deserve this? But, that the time I was young, I was probably a little bit arrogant and ignorant. I had actually been given a second chance at life. And it only took me a few years to realize that, and not many people get given second chances at life. And,
Absolutely.
I saw thereafter that, once I'd come around and some realization set in that, every opportunity I get now, I'm going to take it with open arms and I'm going to do everything at 110%. And I started off my 2014 year with a bang. I got given my first opportunity to go race overseas in Romania. And that was the start of my
We're just going to stop with Romania. Not Romania, Romania. Byron has got a couple of comments he wants to get to. I think one from Ashfaq we missed, and a couple from Steffi. And then you want to play a clip as well, you said, Byron.
I think we should play a clip first. There's a lot I think I need to process after hearing what Kirsten has been through over there. So I think this will just give us a moment over here. So here's a clip right now.
Oh, what can I say, Byron?
I think, sorry there, Abdul, that video also speaks for itself, personal fitness.
Absolutely.
A very important thing for injury recovery. That's one thing. And, speaking from your earliest days as a swimmer, which gives you probably one of the best cardiovascular workouts of all, and especially being out there in the heat, in the elements, you could see that's a big element of your success is personal fitness.
I just want to maybe look at sorry, Kirsten, while you talk about personal fitness, that's my background as well, sports science, actually, strangely enough.
Okay.
But the mental ability, to recover from an accident like that is probably worse than the physical recovery. And well, I can't say worse, but it you have to be so strong psychologically to overcome that. I mean, yeah. Tell me the yaw. I want to know what the yaw is.
I still deal with that accident every day. It's actually part of the reason why I went back. I'm probably jumping here. We're forgetting about the fitness and the other side of things, but just touching on that, that my accident obviously, like I said, it's a big part of who I am today because it was such a big part of my life, and it's the reason why I went to the Dakar actually. So racing in hard enduro and racing in extreme enduros and in the national enduros here in South Africa, I was okay with the technical stuff. That's my strong point. But the moment things get faster, like first, second, third, fourth gear, I'm okay. But anything past that, come like 80, 90 km an hour, I'm talking, this was like 2-3 years ago, I would tap off completely. I would like just back off. And because of my accident and what I've been through. So I've now developed this massive fear of speed. And after my accident, I swore never, ever, ever to go fast again. So, going back to the 2016, 3 years post my accident, I had done Romaniacs, I had done Sea to Sky, I had done Route of Africas, I had done Megawatts, X-Race Namibia, I had raced all over the world, and I had done exceptionally well at it, and I had been, I was at the time the first female to have finished a lot of these world extreme races. And I was in an interview with a journalist from Red Bull after I just finished the Route of Africa, when I became the first female to finish the Route of Africa. And he said to me, you know what, Kirst, what's next? You've done all the races, you've pretty much done most of the stuff that you can in hard enduro as a female, and you've been the first female specialist. What are you going to do next? And I actually said, I couldn't answer him. And then he said to me, what about the Route of Africa? What about the Dakar Rally? And I said to him, buddy, if you came and dropped 2 million rand on my front doorstep right now, or offered me a factory ride to the Dakar, I would say thank you, but no thanks. Just because of my fear from my accident. But that is when the seed was planted. That's when I thought, what about the Dakar? So then I started to do my research, and I just came into, coincidentally, I just come into contact just before that with, I'm sure you guys have heard of Joey Evans. He's been a big part of my decision to go to Dakar, and he, this was just before this interview was done, because he was preparing for his Dakar, which he did in 2017, and he said to me, I don't think an South African woman has ever done the Dakar Rally, and if there's anyone that can do it, certainly you. And I was like, please, Joey, I don't ever want to do the Dakar Rally, that's high speed, I'm not into that. But that's when I started to really look into it, because now it's like this, I kept getting asked a question. So I did research. I had seen that no one had ever attempted the Dakar on a motorbike. And for me, in my career, I had been the first to do a lot of things in the hard enduro scene. So I thought, if I go to the Dakar, I'll really have to face my fear of high speed, hopefully overcome it. And at the same time, if I finish, I'll be the first African woman from Africa to finish. And then that was towards the end. Now 2016 is when I asked me that question, the journalist. End of 2017 was when I realized, okay, I want to do the Dakar. So I hadn't made a public announcement to go to Dakar. I thought, let me just slowly see if I can get back into off-roads, because I haven't done an off-road since my accident in 2013, now 2018. And let me see if I can get the feel of it. And let me see if I enjoy it again, because I can't say I want to go to the Dakar, but I'm not doing off-roads, because Dakar is the biggest off-road race in the world. So I started racing off-roads in 2018. KTM came on board, and they gave me a bike to race off-road as well as my enduros. And August 2018, Women's Month, I made a public announcement that I'm going to work for Dakar 2020, which kind of gave me like a year and 5 months to prepare for Dakar, but mainly I'd already been preparing for it since 2016. So I gave myself enough time to find sponsors, because most guys and everyone of us that have done the Dakar before said to me, the Dakar, getting to the Dakar is the hard part, the Dakar is the easiest, because getting to the Dakar, you've got to find the sponsors. And it doesn't come at a cheap price. I mean, you guys and most followers are all car racers. I mean, I wouldn't even dream of doing a Dakar in the car, because you can times your bike cost of doing the Dakar, you can times it by about flipping 5 or 6 if you're going to do it in a car. So doing it on a motorbike is the cheapest option. Not the safest, but it's the cheapest.
It's the craziest.
So we set up. Yeah, that's it. It's the craziest. At least in the car, you've got a cage around you, so when you crash, something can catch you.
I have a
totally been by
navigator. I
motorbike.
have company. I mean, I can talk to somebody next to me. Like, you can't talk to anybody. I mean, it's madness.
Yes. You have going to deep thoughts at the Dakar rally. My gosh, the conversations I had with myself. It's, sheesh, there's so much time to be, if you're alone there and you think, because there's nothing else to do. You can just think. But listen, it's be able to, you can get along with yourself really well. You learn to love yourself, and that's not a bad thing. I would hate to hate myself and do the Dakar rally. Wouldn't end up well. So yeah, we started preparing for the Dakar and finding sponsors. And we hit a luck with Ryobi Africa. They came on board for my 2020 Dakar campaign. So I finished Dakar 2020. It was an incredible experience. You know, they say ignorance is bliss. Yeah, that's exactly true. I had no idea what I was in for. I can do long hours on a motorbike, but those distances, the cold in Saudi Arabia was next level. That's probably something that I battled with most, was the cold. And then, of course, seeing the accidents every day. There's a lot of crashes. So yeah, I did it. I mean, riding past guys that have crashed at exceptionally high speed. That was the year that 2 guys passed away. So the whole time I'm racing and I'm trying to overcome my fear of speed and
you
overcome
see this
accidents,
happening.
and I'm seeing guys crashing left, right, center, you know, driving past 2 guys that had died. Oh, it was, you know, and I kept saying to myself, like, why are you here? Why are you putting yourself in a situation? I mean, you survived it. You've lived to tell the tale, and now you're putting yourself back in that situation where there were so many times where I felt like I was going to crash. Kind of, you know, Lysan perfectly described the Dakar rally. She says the Dakar rally is like Russian roulette. You just put in the trigger and you don't know when you're going to get the bullet, because, you know, I'm not saying that I don't even come near to running the speeds of the top guys, but in order to, you know, stay mid-pack and not let the cars and the trucks and the quads catch you, you've got to keep a fast pace, because once a car catches you, the track changes. But when a truck catches you, it's like a completely different track. And also the dust, the ruts, they flick up big rocks, and you don't want to be stuck behind cars and trucks, because it's so dangerous. So, you know, you want to keep a fast pace so they never catch you. I was caught by the cars on about 5 or 6 stages. The cars do tend to catch us quite quickly. But then on about 3 or 4 stages, we were caught by the leading trucks. And, I mean, as scary as it was to be behind a truck or hear them coming past you, it was the most exhilarating thing at the same time, to see how fast those trucks are. I mean, I'm trying to race my own race, but at the same time, I'm trying to watch how these trucks maneuver over those obstacles and down these massive dunes. Was an incredible experience. You know, at the same time, I've grown up watching Dakar. I also wanted to experience being at the Dakar, but I had to race it at the same time. So it was very overwhelming. And it was really cool to have been able to have seen it all. But, you know, I felt like I hadn't really got my Dakar experience. I grew up watching the African Dakar. I was too young. I can't remember that. But, you know, we watched the South American, the second chapter, when it went to Chile, Bolivia, Argentina. And watching those Dakars with guys like to the likes of Daryl Curtis and Rian van die Kerk and all the South African guys that had gone over and done it. And hearing the stories that they told about it, you know, from riding in the Andes to the beach with 40-degree temperatures and the freezing cold, riding through snow. Then they're in the Amazon and, you know, all these different terrains, all these different temperatures, you know, really getting that true Dakar experience, from high mountains to dunes to forests to rain to snow to these crazy temperatures. I was like, that's what drew me to the Dakar. You know, I want to experience the adventure, because I love adventure. And, you know, when I did this last Dakar, with it being in Saudi Arabia, and it was the first time in Saudi Arabia, I felt like I kind of missed that adventure, you know. I didn't, you know, Saudi Arabia is very kind of like monotone. It's just sand and hard packed rocks and dunes. There's nothing else. You don't see any greenery. You don't, I mean, the altitude stayed the same. The temperatures were freezing cold, but they didn't get warmer than 15, 16 degrees, because obviously it's winter. in Saudi Arabia that time of the year. So, you know, we didn't experience those highs, those lows, the terrain change. And also, you know, what was also cool about the South America is, you know, they went into different countries. So with it all being in Saudi Arabia, not saying it was boring, like there's nothing boring around it, but that adventure, I felt like, shucks, I'm like missing that part. So, you know, coming back from Dakar, I went and did a few talks, and I frequently got asked, what's next? The question that everyone asked me, what am I going to do next? And, you know, I always joke in these talks, and I say, well, if someone's going to sponsor me, I'll go back to Dakar Moto because I want that adventure. I want to, you know, they always say if you really want to get the true Dakar experience, enter the original Dakar class, which is Malay Moto. For those who is Malay. Okay,
let's stop at
fast now.
Let's stop at the Mali part. Just before that's another story on its own. This is exciting stuff. I can listen to you for hours. It's so intriguing. It's like I'm doing the Dakar, sitting on my chair. It's unbelievable, Byron. There's a couple of comments here that you must actually get through quickly.
There are. Stephanie Vetter has come with a number of comments, but the first one we actually got this evening is from a good friend of ours, Ashfaq Dawood, and I only clicked a few minutes ago what he was meaning. He said bikes are too tired, and they got two tires, so you know it took me a while just to get it. It's a slow evening for me, so thanks for listening, Ashfaq, and he's also been a guest on the show as well. But Stephanie Vetter, and thanks, Stephanie, for your comments as well and getting involved. And she mentioned about the Dakar 2022 and talking about it, and it's promising a very demanding route. And she's asked you, how are you preparing for the 2022 Dakar as compared to the 2020 Dakar? Very different now, of course, because you're doing the Malay Moto for the very first time. I'm sure the mindset is completely different than when you're actually doing just the standard Dakar class.
Yeah.
Okay, take us through that mental programming. Yeah, please. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, going into this Dakar, going to the first Dakar, I had no idea what to expect. I now know what to expect. So I do feel mentally a bit better prepared because I kind of know what to expect. I know what the terrain's going to be like. I know that this Dakar, they're saying, is going to be a lot harder than the previous Dakars, which I'm happy. The harder it is, the better. The tougher the navigation, I love it. I thrive with tougher terrain. If navigation's hard, because I love the navigation side of Dakar and rally riding.
Can I ask you a question?
I really enjoy that. Yes.
The navigation, I remember the last Dakar, it was changed. And the first 10 drivers in the cars got lost. The top drivers, including, I think, a couple of our South African guys, like Neil and a couple of other guys, and Shamir and them, they got lost. So what changed just before you got into the navigation? Or how was the previous navigation compared to the new navigation, put it that way?
So they change it every year. So with Saudi Arabia being, they always said like they've got to work through their teething problems. I mean, they only had 7 months to put together an 8,000 kilometer route and of roadbooks for the first Dakar in Saudi Arabia. So the more time they spend in Saudi Arabia, the harder they can make the navigation because they obviously they've done a Dakar, they know where the rent, and they learn. You know, that's why the South America Dakar got so good towards the end because they had already been in South America for 7-8 years and they could work off the routes that they've created. So as the Dakar progresses to Saudi Arabia each year, they will get better with the navigation as they will then have explored more of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is massive. You must actually go look at what the size of Saudi Arabia is on a map. It's crazy. It's a huge country and there is so much riding there. I mean, you can ride just anywhere. So for them to try and plot routes where they're trying to keep everyone happy and also trying to make it accessible for quads, cars, side-by-side, bikes and trucks, it's difficult. They've got a big task at hand. But I mean, from what I've read and what I've seen on the recce, this next Dakar, the navigation is going to be harder. It's a good thing if the navigation is harder because it slows the race down a bit more, which makes it safer, which makes less accidents. So I'm all for that. makes it safer. But yeah, the navigation is cool because it's, as you guys know, I don't know if any of the listeners have ever ridden off a road book, it makes it a lot safer. You know, you're not riding blind. You know what's coming up
Yeah.
at each point.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I think of it as a PlayStation game, and you're collecting waypoints, and those are like your little tokens that you got to get along the way, and it makes it fun. You know, it keeps it interesting. You know, you sit in at reading your start of your road book, and you've got 900 kilometers to go through a day, but because you're so busy watching your navigation, before you know it, the 900 kilometers is done, and like that for 12 days in a row. So yeah, mentally preparation going into Malamota. Back to your question. I feel a lot better going into the Dakar because I know what to expect. The biggest change for me is I'm spending a lot more time on the bike in training. So bike fitness, I want to be a lot better. I also want to, and I've been doing a lot of more fast riding. So I've been spending a lot of time on the Dakar bike, training on it, so that when I come to Dakar, I'm comfortable with high speeds already. Not like my last Dakar, I hadn't spent that much time riding fast stuff, and I only got comfortable riding high speeds come day 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then it's not good enough to be fast in the last 4 days, where I could have made up a lot of time in those early first 8 days. And then, of course, with it being Melemoto, I've got a lot of mechanical work to do and learn on my motorbike, you know. At the end of each day when I come back, now, you know, I do Dakar in January, I've got to go through that motorbike. If something goes wrong, only I can fix it. You know, you're not allowed any outside help. I can only take help from a fellow rider, but I mean, every man for themselves. They're not here to help you. So, you know, I've got to be a smart rider. I've got to make sure my navigation's sharp, because any mistakes I make or any crashes I have just make the chances of me damaging something more likely. And obviously, I don't want to get back every day and spend hours working on my motorbike, because that just means I hate sleep. And that's a big thing at Dakar. You know, the more time you waste on, you know, chatting, or, you know, spending too long in the shower, or, you know, spending too much time on my bike doing what I need, which means I sleep less. And, you know, it's okay over one night if you're racing one day, but we're racing for 12 days in a row. And we're on the bike I was on the bike for an average of 12 hours a day. So long days, short nights, and it's exhausting. So I've got to go in with a plan, and we executed our plan really well at the last Dakar. You know, I'm a strong believer of preparation is everything. If you go there prepared, you will succeed. Obviously, we can't account for accidents, because that's why they call them accidents. But again, if I train hard, I tick all the boxes in terms of nutrition, preparation, mental well-being. I work with a mental coach as well, just to overcome those fears. You know, I have doubts. I'm human. I'm not a robot. So there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of preparation. And of course, I've got a big team behind me, you know, as I sit here alone talking about myself. But there's a lot of people behind the scenes that help me get to this point and have got me to where I am. So it's a team effort, and I've got great sponsors. And I think I couldn't do this without them.
You know, coming to the team aspect of what you're talking about, I think a lot of viewers, a lot of people out there, you know, they only see the driver or the rider, and that's kind of what happens in motorsport all over the world. I mean, we see the Lewis Hamiltons of the world and the Michael Schumachers and the Verstappens and whoever. But we don't realize, without the guy putting the fuel in that car or in the bike or whatever, it's not going to go anywhere. So absolutely. I mean, well, Malimoto is a bit of a different scenario. I mean, you still have to have the team, but they can't help you. Well, they help you to a point, and the rest is up to you.
Exactly.
And that puts it on a different level.
Sure.
I mean, absolutely different level. So it's so intriguing. I mean, like, really, it's so intriguing. And we definitely want to have you on the show after the Dakar, or maybe while are you allowed to kind of talk at the Dakar to people somewhere else? I mean, like, maybe.
I think we're way too busy, Abdul. I can tell you that much.
No, I don't mean like while the Dakar's happening. I mean, maybe like just after the Dakar.
Of course, after the Dakar, there'll be plenty time for chats, and I can tell you all about my Malimoto experiences, and hopefully with a medal around my neck.
Beautiful.
I think we've lost Abdul there.
I think we have lost Abdul briefly. Just quickly, Kirsty, I just want to ask actually a question I wanted to ask earlier on. You guys are equipped with the Sentinel system as well on the bikes,
Yes,
which
that's
of course,
Yes.
how does that really work actually? I've always been intrigued by the Sentinel. I know the trucks, when they come along and the cars, when they come along, they will do a signal that will tell you
Yes.
they are in the area.
So that Sentinel has been a huge game changer at Dakar and a huge safety part of Dakar. So previous Dakars, when they had they had the Sentinel, but they've really upgraded it to a point. So, for instance, when I'm riding on my little navigation mount, not really navigation, it doesn't in any way guide me, but it's my little Sentinel. It's got a speaker, and when a car comes up behind me, it'll go beep 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 like that, and then if I look down, it'll say the car is normally does it within 200 to 300 meters. So I know pull over right so they can pass left, or you look back to see where they are so so they can pass. And then with a truck, it'll beep faster. It'll go beep 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 beep, and then you really get out the way very fast. But it's up to the navigator in the car to warn you. But generally at Dakar, they were all very, very good, and they gave you more than enough time to pull over, and they warned you in quite some time. So they would take them at least 10 to 15 seconds to catch you before they warned you. Warn you, and then they'll catch you. But it's changed it. It's also good, and from a point of the dune riding. So if I had to drop my bike over on the other side of the dune, and that's when many guys have actually been killed at Dakar, when they dropped their bikes or cars had been on the other side of the dune, the car would come over and hit the bike or the car, and that's when a lot of people unfortunately had accidents. So now, if my bike's lying over, it's got it's very clever. I don't know the technological side of things. When my bike's over, it sends a beacon signal to everyone around me when they get so many meters, or I don't know how far it is, that they will get notified where I am. And the closer they get to me, the faster it beeps. So they will know if I'm backside of the dune and I've dropped my bike, they will know they've got to go left or right around me. So it's really got a lot better, and I'm grateful for that. It's made a lot safer. So, and it's very accurate. It's brilliant. I mean, there were no issues at the last Dakar or my Dakar. So yeah, they're really working hard at making sure the Dakar becomes safer.
No, it's actually wonderful to hear, and wonderful to see that Abdul's also back with us as well.
What happened? I fell off my bike.
You fell off your bike.
Well done for getting back on.
Well, it's hard. I mean, I can still do the high-speed sections there. I'm a bit scared. I must be honest with you. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what happened, but anyhow, we're back on air. So, what did I miss? What did I miss?
We just touched on about
Abdul,
the
of course,
of Dakar.
Sentinel and the technology as it's developed over the years with Dakar, which I think is amazing. And with Kirsten actually telling us about the alert system, I know in the old days they would probably have to use a flare or something like it to try and show a kind of a point where you are in the desert. But now with electronics, modern electronics as well, I think it's magnificent. And I've always liked as well about the Dakar is there's always the spirit of the Dakar as well, where there's always somebody willing to help, which is always,
sure.
Looks like something to me as well, especially amongst the riders, the bikers.
Yeah, you have to. At the end of the day, 99% of those bikers there have sacrificed a lot in their life to get there. They've saved. I mean, I've heard stories of guys that have sold their houses, and they've done everything. They've sacrificed years of just savings and selling stuff just so they can get to the Dakar. So, when someone breaks down, it's a long race. It's exhausting. Like I said, the sacrifice to get there is huge. So we're all there for one goal. The factory guys, they're there to win, but we're just there to finish, and by stopping and helping someone and losing 5 positions or 10 minutes or half an hour, so what? Help that guy get across the finish line. you know, you make friends, you get to experience that Dakar camaraderie, which you're right, it's amazing, it's incredible. And you know, you come into the refuel, and everyone, like guys from China and people from all walks of life from all over the world, and they just got these smiles on their faces. And you know, we've been on the bike for 900 kilometers, but we're all just so happy to have made it to the finish together and ticked another day to Dakar and getting closer to finish. So it's like, I mean, I just get a warm, fuzzy feeling when I talk about it now. The camaraderie is amazing, you know. And you finish the Dakar with friends from all over the world because you've just gone through this incredibly tough experience together, and you all share this passion, this love for the sport that we have. And I think that's what the Dakar does. It brings people together from all over the world that absolutely love motorsport. And for anyone that ever has the opportunity to watch a Dakar or can go and watch one, I mean, man, bikes, quads, cars, side by sides, it is the holy grail of racing. It's incredible.
You know what? I do watch the Dakar, must be honest, but I only watch the Toyota Hiluxes. I don't know why. I'm a Toyota fan, so we race Toyotas. Oh, I shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
But regardless of, you know, and that is where, you know, you can take team to another level. You know, the word team, together everybody achieves more. And it's the ultimate in the Dakar, because most, and I say most forms of motorsport, it's very selfish. You know, it's just, I want to win, and that is it at all costs. I really don't care if you crash into the barrier. The Dakar seems to be, well, for you guys, for the motorbike riders and the non-factory teams, it seems to be a bit different. And that is so intriguing and so beautiful, actually, because it gives you a sense of fulfillment when you're done with the Dakar. And I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I saw Ashfaq came up with a quite an interesting comment. I think
it's quite a cool question, this one.
Actually handle that for us, yeah.
Yeah, no, with all the undulations, how are you able to read the screen on the navigation system? I think it's a very good question, that.
It is a good question. I promise you, you can see it. You learn to, it's amazing. Like the first time I ever got onto a road book, I would like stop and I was like, I can't even see the thing. Like, how am I supposed to do this? But you get used to it, you know, with anything, with the more you practice it, becomes second nature. And you eventually, you learn, you become so in tune with, you like, don't stare at it. You just briefly look at it. It's a quick glance down and straight up, you know. So it's not like you sit there staring at it and assessing it. I mean, the info that they give you is abbreviated, short, to the point. It's normally very visual. You just get your kilometer reading with your little your, what do they call it, your little icon, and then your information. So it's a quick glance down, and then you know, you can look at it. But the biggest mistake that I think most people do, and I did it myself when I first did my ever road book, is I tried to ride faster than I could navigate. And you learn very quickly to only ride as fast as you can navigate. Because if you try to ride faster, that's when you make mistakes. And then when you're trying to rush and panic, you get lost, and then you get further muddled up with your road book because you're now riding up to trip meter. But it's an incredible experience because, again, it's not just sitting there flat tapped, just staring into the distance and, you know, waiting for something to come up in front of you. This time, you know, you can trust the road book, that there are their kilometer markings, their safety warnings, and it is bumpy, but it just becomes second nature. It's hard to explain until you've actually really tried it. And the PlayStation game is not a good a good indication of what it's like.
Well, I can only listen to your awesome stories because there's no ways I'm ever going to try the Dakar on a motorbike. I can tell you now. I don't want Biden. Maybe Biden has got more. I don't know.
No. In a car, definitely, which will be tough enough, I think. So on a bike, it's a completely different story.
You know what? This is unbelievable. I honestly, you know, I have a very short attention span, Kirsten. I must be very honest with you. But I've sat here for an hour listening to your story, and trust me, I can listen to you for another hour because it's so. You know, I think it's the passion that you talk with that is so important. And you know, you believe in yourself, you believe in what you do, and you're so passionate about what you do, and it's unbelievable. And you know, we have 1 minute left, I think, before the hour is up. And I think we're gonna leave it at that, because if we're gonna go on now, we're gonna sit here for another hour. But we can do that other hour at some other time. Maybe before, I don't know. Maybe before the Dakar, a couple of months before, a week. Well, the Dakar's in Jan, isn't it? 2020.
January, yeah.
Yeah, 2022.
2nd till the 14th.
Yeah.
2nd to the 14th, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see how the shows go. I'll just contact you. We can see how much time you have, and maybe you can just come and say hello for 10 minutes or something if you don't have enough time. Just to, it'll be nice to know closer to the Dakar how you're doing, keep maybe track of your progress and stuff like that. And just know that personally, myself and Baden, I'm sure Baden can tell it to himself, but we are behind you all the way. In whatever way we can help. Whatever prayers you need, I can pray, trust me. Whatever you're going to need to do, we're there. I mean, it's an awesome achievement. I mean, you're from South Africa, you're African, you're a female. It just ticks all the boxes for me, and you're good at what you do. So, Baden, maybe just in closing, I have a question in closing, but maybe Baden's got some other things he wants to do quickly. Do you have a clip, Baden?
I do. I do actually have another clip. So I think let's.
And then your closing of question, and I have one closing of question for Kirsten, and then she can just wrap up after that.
It's been a 2.5-year process of preparations. Everything I've done in my whole career, from my first Roof of Africa in 2012 to my first Romaniacs in 2014, my accident in Botswana in 2013, and then working with a mental coach for the last 2 years and just becoming a stronger rider and growing from strength to strength with experiences in off-road and going back to the Desert 1000 in 2018. I'm ready for this, The Dakar being in Saudi Arabia, just Dakar in general. For me, I always say the saying, ignorance is bliss. I have no idea what to expect. I'm going there with an open mind. I'm going there to ride my bike. I will write on my handguards what I write on every single one of my extreme races. On the left-hand side, keep the wheels turning, and on the right-hand guard, get to the finish line.
Baden, your closing comments or questions, please.
I just want to know that vertical face that you went up over there as well. That just gave me goosebumps actually watching that, going up such a steep face like that. What's the mindset around that? Most of us won't even walk, too steep slant. You going up something that's almost vertical, basically vertical.
When in doubt, flat out.
It's as simple as that.
Oh my word! And the car's easier. Yeah, the car's okay. On a bike, I don't know. Yeah.
That one I wouldn't even attempt a car up door. Not at all.
No ways. No. That's even worse. That's even worse.
I'll be on my roof.
No, it's come with experience. Trust in my motorbike and trust in my experience gained. That's all. It looks a lot worse. That camera angle made it look a lot worse what it is.
Come on. It's difficult as it is. Forget about the camera angle. Kirsten, just before we close, there's a lot of people that aspire to what you do, and you're absolutely an inspiration to, I can tell you, to a lot of people out there. Maybe some word of advice to our the youth of today. Well, you also youth kind of, but I mean the younger people of today, and maybe just motorsport in general, it's not in a good space. It hasn't been in a good space for a while. And just your thoughts on those two comments, and then we can take it from there.
I think from my experience, I was fortunate enough to have my dad be able to buy the bikes for me, because we all know motorsport is expensive. It comes, it's not like just putting on a pair of running shoes and going running. But there are people that are connected, and if you've got a passion for the sport, you've just got to work towards it. I mean, I didn't start off on the best equipment, but I made most of what I had, and I also worked towards everything that I got. As anything in life, it doesn't come easily. And my passion and love for the sport was was what got me through it. You know, I'd broken many bones. I financially faced many financial issues along the way. I still do, but I don't let it get in the way for my passion. You know, so you just got to, as anything in life, whether it's in school, sports, or, you know, school education, and, you know, sporting within motorsports, you just got to keep going. And, you know, there's going to be lots of times where people are going to tell you can't do it. I mean, if I got told that I couldn't, I shouldn't, the amount of times I've been told that I shouldn't ride motorbikes, I should have given up motorbikes when I was 8 years old. You know, I had teachers tell me in school that I'm wasting my time. I had family members tell me that I'm wasting my time. So, you know, if you love something, you're passionate about it, and you're serious about it, only you can make it happen, you know. And if you work hard enough, people will see that talent in you and make it happen for you. You know, like myself, I can't afford my own racing. I've got to fully rely on sponsors. And because I'm passionate and I put in the effort and I work hard, and because I love it so much, they've seen that, and it's helped me to be able to make a career out of this. So, you know, most success stories come from people that had to really work hard for it, and it just makes the victory so much sweeter, you know, to knowing that you've worked so hard. You know, keep your dream alive, only you can. And, you know, hard work, dedication, commitment, and also a good support structure. You know, if you can have people that are there just to support you emotionally, mentally, and just be there for you, it helps a lot.
Absolutely. You know, I'm not going to say anything else, Byron. I just want to say thank you so much to Kirsten for being on the show tonight. What an inspiration. And I think the last comment was from Angelo Marsiglia. And it's, you know, it just says, well, there's an awesome to hear, Kirsty. What an inspiration. My sentiments too. What an inspiration. And you know what? Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. We wish you well for the rest of your career. And trust me, whoever your sponsors are, they have an asset in you because you give it your all. And that's what it's about. You know, it's from your heart, and that's the most important as far as I'm concerned. You got to do it with heart, and don't, like you said, don't let anybody steal your dream. And I just want to thank 435 Oils and BH Media for all the effort for making this program possible, and to the viewers out there. And you know what, guys, you know, subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch the program. It's very interesting. We're on every second week, and every other week we have Patrick, Vermaak, and Lingerveld and Byron in the background as well. And they talk about different stuff. They talk about rallying and all the other things that's important. And guys, just do it. Go out there and do it. And Kirsten, to you especially, I wish you well. Well, we wish you well from our side.
Thank you very much.
All the best, Kirsten.
And I'm definitely gonna contact you a couple of weeks before the Dakar just to come and say hello and say how the progress is going. And if you're okay with that, just let me know. Thank you so much to everybody out there, Byron, to you as well. Good. And Kirsten, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have
Thank you very much.
Evening and a blessed evening. Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
for having me.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
It's a pleasure. Bye-bye.
I don't battle with that, you know. My bike that I'm riding for the roof, I've already made the decision. I'm riding the 250 free ride, so that bike doesn't really allow you to make mistakes. So that's in that department, I'm good. We've got a lot of testing to do, and we want to do some mods on the bike. But yeah, I'm confident in the technical stuff. It's just my biggest fear or weakness would be in between, you know, riding the lowlands and the downhills. You know what, Sandra, I've been following her for a while on Instagram, as close as I could, and she is a unbelievable rider. She's extremely talented. I mean, her brother's currently the best in the world, and she comes from a family and a background of trials riding and enduro cross, so she's definitely like I would say, can't think of the word, she's going to be tough competition. And you know, but at the same time, it's really fired me up to train harder, eat better. I mean, I'm putting in the effort, and you know, at the end of the day, if she beats me fair and square, and I know I've put in the effort, then I'll be happy. Then she's the better rider. But I'm going to go in as my best as I can, and of course, being at a home race and knowing the terrain and coming from South Africa and being able this close to Lesotho, I want to do my best. And who never knows, we actually could land up riding together, but we'll see how it goes. Lesotho's, this place is scary, and gold is tough, and it's
it's not for sissies, and I don't think for 1 second she's a sissy. She looks tough. So, well, it's exciting. I'm excited and nervous at the same time. I think I'm terrified. But like I said, it's a good motivation.